This is Del K. Burton. This is the real spiel. Again, about to begin our observations from Israel. We have Rabbi Fume and the Counselor General of Israel, as well as the Director of the Slavov Museum in Chicago. And getting ready. We're waiting right now for the Counselor General. And just to give you a peek setup. Just giving you a quick briefing of the itinerary. So we've positioned ourselves to begin very shortly. Okay, I'll give you a briefing afterward, but for now, we're going to enjoy a little bit of music. We're going to have worship by Jonathan Joseph, and a conversation with the community in respect to observations of Israel. Rabbi Fume is one of the most decorated black rabbis we have in America. He's actually the cousin of Michelle Obama. And we have, of course, the Counselor General. And we're going to ask them some choice questions in respect to the relations with Israel and the African American and African community at large. Stand by. Here we go.
We appreciate you, and I'm definitely still waiting to see your guys in the well, you know, I'm assistant coach now. Oh, okay. It's like 7 of them.
You got children now?
Rabbi, how are you? Hanging in there?
Yeah, you know what the problem is.
Looking good always. My sister's parents. Don't walk
We have Reverend Sampson, ordained by Dr. King. Mentioned Rabbi Fume at the front. A couple of other dignitaries here too. Just again to reiterate, this is referred to as the observations from Israel. We are currently in the Ames Auditorium of the DeSable Black History Museum in Chicago. So our welcome will be done by Perry Emmer. She's the president CEO of the museum. And then we'll have an opening prayer by Apostle William McCoy. And then we'll have greetings by President King, the president of Shiloh. I will be moderating a question and answer after most of the remarks. And then we will be closing out with a song and benediction by Rabbi. So if you can hang in there, this is overdue, and we've been waiting to start the journey of Shiloh and Shiloh's events, and Shiloh's reach in Africa and Israel. It's okay. So we're getting ourselves organized and loaded. Let's see if we have any Wi-Fi. Brooke, did you find any Wi-Fi in here? No. I'm not sure. They do? Is it free? Oh, it's free. Anyways, I got a good data plan. Okay. I should have done it before I came on. Hoping that we're able to live chat during this. If you want to ask questions, if you come in, if you pop in, say hello, so we know that you're here. So it looks like the Consul General has arrived behind me. Somebody's phone. There you go. No problem, brother. So when we get underway, I'm going to park you guys over there, and you'll get a bird's eye view, better than my current location. I think I'll do that right now. So getting underway very soon. You guys in, and I'll have comments after. There we go.
Well, good evening, everyone. Welcome to the DuSable Black History Museum and Education Center. Hi there. It's so nice to, oh, hey, how are you? It's great to see all of you, new friends and old. Of course, my dear friend, Consul General Ivan Cohen, our friends from the Shiloh Institute, our wonderful relatives of the great, God rest his soul, Princess Xiao. And we met also on my trip to Israel in December. So this is a lovely evening. I'm glad that the weather is finally calming down, that it has decided that summer can start now. But welcome everyone. As you know, the DuSable is the nation's oldest independent Black history museum. And we were founded in 1961, right? Like 2 years after I was born. And we are really, really happy to have you all here. Our name change really came about from, number one, wanting to put education into our title, into our name, because education has always been the primary mission of the DuSable. Margaret Burroughs, our founder, was herself an educator first and foremost, but we thought, let's put it in the name. Maybe it'll help us raise some money. And then for Black history, as opposed to the DuSable Museum of African American History, really speaks to why you are all here tonight, right? Because Black people are everywhere in the world, right? Everywhere. And even though we are connected spiritually and culturally all across the world, our stories are a little bit different, right? Whether we come from the US, whether we come from the Caribbean, another colonized nation, or Mother Africa, the stories are a little bit different, and the history is a little bit different, and our children need to know all of it, right? They need to be able to go to places like the Parliament in the Bahamas, where they can look on the wall and see all Black faces running their own nation, right? And our kids don't know this, because our public education system has not taught many things, but also the unity that Black people from all around the world need to aspire to, need to be encouraged to have these relationships, stop demonizing the continent of Africa, make relationships between Black American companies and African companies, and understand that we rise together, right? And so across religion, across borders, our stories are important, and our narration of our stories is important, and our international relationships are important. And so all of these are things that our kids must see, they must be educated on, we must show them. And ironically, while some in this country are trying to erase our history, trying to ban our stories, ban the books, trying to legislate continued ignorance, we are the opposite, right? We want to be as open and free and literally in the spirit of Africa and African origin stories, to be brothers and sisters and tolerant and loving. We are a loving people, right? So I can talk a lot. So y'all didn't bring me here tonight to talk a lot. But I just wanted to welcome everyone. I wanted to encourage you to become members of the DuSable. We have so many wonderful things planned this summer. And on your way out, if you would like to, you can take a look at our very newest exhibit, which is Diaspora Stories. selections from the CCH Pounder collection, and you know the actress CCH Pounder. She's an avid art collector. She herself is from Guyana, from British Guyana, and was educated in the UK. But she has been collecting Black art from all over the world, from the Caribbean, from Africa, from the US, for more than 45 years. So our curators actually went to her home in New Orleans and picked selected pieces to bring and really communicate this diasporal vision of beautiful Black art images. And she was here for the opening, and she'll be back before we close the exhibit in mid-July. But again, we want to show it all, and we want everyone to learn and be educated on our culture, our history, and our presence throughout the world. So thank you so much, and welcome.
Good evening. Good evening. And sanctioning this our people are destroyed by lack of knowledge. Father God, in the name of Prince of Peace, we ask you to inspire us today. Bless you and bless the eyes, for we have not saw and we have not heard. But this dispensation we have a quickening. There's a yearning for awakening. Those that come far and near to come back to us, we bless the CEO and everyone that's in charge in these places, Lord. As we sit attentively, we wait with expectation for growth. In Jesus' name,
Amen.
His Son, the prophet, we say, Amen.
Welcome. Good evening. My name is Christina King. I'm the president of the Shiloh Institute. And the Shiloh Institute will be launching soon. And it is the connection between Israel, Africa, and America. And so we look forward to continuing to bring together events like this and to bring leaders together, as Mr. Urmer said, for education and for together into the community so that we can introduce the council agenda.
Thank you, God, for allowing us this opportunity today to join you and so share like-minded ideas so that we can be able to move to ourselves first and to your people. The only thing we ask today is that you continue to be our Father, because with you we can never do no wrong, we can never go down the wrong path. So thank you, God. Thank you, God.
Yes.
How's everybody doing?
Great.
So I want to let everybody know it's an honor and privilege to be able to bring on the Council General of Israel to the Midwest here in the United States of America. Me being born and raised in Israel is nothing but an honor. So I want everybody to know we in the company today of greatness, first within ourselves, then with being here as a family collectively. So I want everybody just to relax and know that they are amongst family, so that we can be able to share like-minded ideas and be able to feed off each other, so that we can do, as the CEO and the president of DuSable said earlier, we could be able to continue to grow ourselves through first relationships with the Israeli representative, which is the Council General, but with the state of Israel. That's really important because most of us in here have some sense or some background that connects us to Israel one way or another. Whether you Muslim, whether you're a Jew, whether you're a Hebrew, whether you're a Christian, whether you're a Baptist,
Right.
we all seem to take our history back to what I'll call the Holy Land, which is Israel, and I'll call Africa the motherland.
Yeah.
So it's not a small thing for me to be able to bring on the Council General. It's with great honor and privilege to do so. But before I went to reading his accomplishments and the things that he's been able to accomplish over this short beginning part of his life, I just wanted everybody to know that we at home, we amongst family, and we amongst friends and our peers. So, Yinam Cohen is the Consul General of Israel to the Midwest. He is a career diplomat with 16 years of experience in the Israeli Ministry of Foreign Affairs. Before arriving in Israel, he held the position of Senior Policy Advisor to Foreign Ministry, Gabi Ashkenazi, and Director of the Policy Department in the Ministry of Europe. Prior to that, Consul General Cohen was the Director of the UN Political Affairs Department, where he oversaw Israel's diplomatic campaigns in the UN Security Council and General Assembly in Israel. Between 2015 and 2018, he served as Deputy Chief of Mission in the Embassy of Israel in Madrid, Spain. There, he led the diplomatic dialogue with the Spanish government and outreach to Spain's parliament and political parties. From 2012 to 2015, he was a diplomat advisor to three consecutive departments, to three consecutive Director Generals of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. Prior to his diplomatic career, Cohen worked as a strategic consultant at Seldor Ltd. He holds an MBA cum laude as well as the B.Sc in computer science, both from the Hebrew University in Israel. So that's who we have in our midst. I just wanted everybody to know who we have in our midst. But I went even deeper than that, Yanni, so that you know that I really know who we have in our midst. So one of the things that my father always did was when we came into the room or when we started any conversation, he always asked us what our name means. Because he said if you know what your name means and if your name have any meaning, then that's really the direction that God chose for you. Understand they connect to God and then to themselves and then to their culture and to a lifestyle that would allow them to be their true selves. So that's my intentions, to keep that vision and that dream and that reality frame while we start today. And would send out the name. So Yinam means ambitious, strength, reliability, meaning reliable, determination, and precision. So that's who we have here. We have a man that's been able to go leaps and bounds just based on his name. So it's no way that we wouldn't understand why he's here today. He was born to do what he's doing. He was born to represent his grandparents and then his parents on an international level to share the word and share the message that we are one family, that we are one people. Whether you from Israel, whether you're from the U.S., whether you're from Africa, it doesn't matter what your background is. It don't matter where you believe that you came from when you were born. But through it all, we all come from one source, and that's the source of creativeness, that's the source of God, and that's the source of us working and understanding who we are so that we can continue to work together. So with that being said, I want to bring up Idan Kohen.
Thank you so much for this really heartwarming presentation. It's such a pleasure to be here with really good friends. Perry, thank you for hosting us. It's a true honor. We've had, I think, since my arrival in Chicago, almost 2 years now. In this summer, it's going to be 2 years. We've had, we did some very nice things together, and I thank you for that. We celebrated here last year together with many other, of course, with many, and the National Monument for the victims of the lynchings. And I feel that the next stop has bring my kids here, because again, education is important. It is very important for us. Rabbi, it's wonderful to share the stage with you. I was so happy when I arrived in Chicago. It was almost a year and a half ago to visit your synagogue, your community center. Here in America, the concept of Jews of color is still, it's a process, right? I mean, people tend to think of Jews as white people, but it's not necessarily so. Those of you who visited Israel know that it's, Jews are very diverse. My grandparents, for example, arrived from Arab countries, from Yemen, from Iraq, from Egypt, and I think we need to remember that diversity is something that is also very important in Judaism, and this is something we want to share with more people. This year we celebrate 75 years of the existence of Israel. It is 75 years of the modern Israel, actually, because we celebrate the return of the Jews to their homeland after 2,000 years in exile, to our ancient homeland. And I think that we can draw a lot of parallel between some of the Jewish history and some of the Black history. This is very important to make this connection. And as I mentioned, we're a very diverse society in our country. It's not only just that the Jewish population in Israel is very diverse. We have Jews coming from Europe, from Africa, from Asia, from South America, from really every part of the world, but also that's not only Israel is the homeland of the Jewish people, but we also have more than 20% of our population are non-Jews. The Arabs, from Muslim faith, Christian faith, Druze faith. It's a very diverse country, and for those of you who didn't have yet a chance to visit Israel, I totally invite you to do that. And while we celebrate our 75th anniversary, we also remember one very important thing. It's not only about Israel, but because we also celebrate 75 years of the U.S.-Israel relations. Yeah. And I'm sure some of you know this history, but I want to repeat it because it's very important for us. The first country to recognize Israel when our country was established was, of course, the United States under President Truman. He signed his recognition in Israel only 11 minutes. 11 minutes after our first Prime Minister Ben-Gurion declared our independence back in 1948. And it was very symbolic because since then our relations have been grown and built, and now we have no better friend than the United States in the world. Relations are deep and strong in every possible aspect. But the most important thing is that it is based on our common values of freedom, liberty, democracy. And while sometimes our values are questioned, maybe here, maybe also in my country, we have to remember it and we have to fight for these important values because this is the past, the present, and the future of our relations. I'm sure you've heard a lot about Israel in the news in the recent months. Our country is going through certain events. No country is immune from, unfortunately, no democracy, I would say. No Western democracy is immune from, polarization, social polarization, that this country has seen that, my country has unfortunately seen that in many other countries. But I think that every crisis is also a big opportunity. And Israel was established upon a certain vision 75 years ago. The country has changed a lot, the world has changed a lot, and I think that this is an opportunity for my country, for our society, to really find our common future now for the next decades. So again, every crisis, both here in Israel and in other countries, is also an opportunity. You know what? Also in our personal life, every crisis is an opportunity. We have to look at it this way. But also for countries and for societies and for communities. And I hope that maybe the debate that we have in our country right now will be also an opportunity to really reshape our future, our common future together. And as you know, we live in a region, we live in a neighborhood that is sometimes could be complicated. But I try to look at the opportunity. We have celebrated peace in a region, the Abraham Accords that brought peace between Israel and some of our neighbors, our Arab neighbors. And our biggest friend, the United States, the administration, President Biden himself is very much dedicated now into enhancing the circle of peace in the Middle East, bringing more Arab countries, especially Saudi Arabia. So I really hope that when we meet next time, we have to think about when that would happen, we'll be able to celebrate more peace in the Middle East, because ultimately it's peace, not war. As a father, as a parent, especially, I think of my kids. I have 3 teenagers. Not always the easiest age to celebrate, but they're wonderful kids. And you want to make sure that the world that we live to our kids is just a little bit better than the world that we live in right now. So we're very hopeful that we'll be able to see more peace in our region in the upcoming year. And I want to say just one word about what we try to do here. We're based here in Chicago, so we cover 9 Midwestern states. We want to make sure that the wonderful relations between Israel and the United States, that we can see that also happening here in the Midwest. We are very much invested, my team, myself, together with really wonderful partners that we have here, to create more partnerships, especially one major focus for me is really, it is a personal focus, to create more partnerships between Israel and African American communities, especially here in Chicago, but also in Detroit, in Milwaukee, in Minneapolis we do that. We've had wonderful projects in Bronzeville on mental health. We try to work also in Englewood, in the west side of Chicago, urban agriculture, mental health, as I mentioned, education, emergency issues, just anything that the community says, this is something we want to create a special focus on. And we try to see if in Israel we have any special expertise in that, and then create a partnership, because this partnership really benefits both sides, right? And with this kind of partnership, there's a growing understanding also between us. And this is so important for me. So really, thank you. I don't want to mention names because there are so many friends in this room who have done so much to create this partnership, to create more understanding between our people. So thank you for that, and let's continue doing that. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Council General. We appreciate you coming and taking time. And I'd like to bring Prince Amiel, a leader of the African Hebrew Israelite community and the leader here in Chicago, to share with us. Prince?
All right, shalom. How the heaven is everybody? That's what I'm talking about. So, I'm going to flip the script just a little bit because I want to contextualize. I've developed a relationship with the Council General, with Sister Perry, and beloved Rabbi Funay, and I know everybody in it. We had some sort of relationship. And I just want to give you a visual. I want you to imagine when I was 18, I was in Washington, D.C. when the city was on fire. You could smell the tear gas, and only to come to terms with the fact that my aspect of the revolution was just beginning with the death of Dr. King. And I met him when I was in junior high school. And what happened, they had an outing for junior high school students. Thousands of junior high school students converged on the mayor's office on 14th and Pennsylvania Avenue. And my bus was the last bus to get there, so it was a sea of children. And when they announced that Dr. King was coming out, everybody started pushing. And I was a little teeny-weeny guy, so I couldn't fight it. I had to go with it. And I was stumbling all the way. And I stumbled and got pushed where I fell next to these stairs. And I didn't know that these were the stairs that Dr. King was standing on. And when I fell and was trying to get up, a hand reached out and grabbed my hand to pull me up, and it was Dr. King. And we sort of, it was very surreal because we sort of looked in each other's eyes. And I felt something. I don't know if other children got it, but I felt something, and my life changed drastically after that situation. So hence, I meet the Hebrew Israelite nation. Now, Martin Luther King and all of the patriarchs have been our way markers. We stood on all of their shoulders. And imagine a group of people who are just tired and can't take it anymore. Some of us, it was a line of sand for us. And we came from different cities and different countries at the behest of Dr. Shliach, Prince Asiel, Ben-Ami, and a host of others that felt that we needed an external solution. So now you can imagine gathering all of these people who wanted to leave and go to roots in Israel. You gotta imagine galvanizing all those people to get on planes, to friends and families, to leave their possessions, and all of that to gather and to make this move, not into Israel first, but into Liberia first. Because we felt that if we were going to go into Israel, we had to spend some time purging ourselves of a lot of the ignorance that was on us being in this slave culture, in slave environment. Now imagine that going into a place that you don't know nothing about, because we went up into the Upper Volta region, which was not, there weren't any 7-Elevens, weren't any grocery stores, nothing. Now imagine that now it starts raining and it don't stop. We had bought some $4 tents from America and they got tore up in 2 weeks. So literally, our housing situation was terrible. And I promised that I would always tell this story because it was some old Garveyites who came to our rescue because we didn't even know there was food in the jungle and all that kind of stuff. And they came to our rescue. They taught us how to live in the bush. And show you about the spirit of the movement. Now imagine 1 million ants this size moving, heading your way, sounding like a locomotive train, right? And the only thing you can figure out is how to get you and everybody else out the way, because they're coming, they're going to eat everything that they can possibly, including people who are in the way. And then imagine that you live in tents and the most deadly snake is in that region called the black mamba. And so you may wake up in your tent with a snake. And then we had the battle, what you call the thing that we had to deal with the most from a health perspective was the what is that?
Malaria?
The what?
Malaria.
Yeah, the malaria. A lot of people come from malaria. Now imagine being up in the bush, ain't no doctors. No doctors, so whatever understanding that we had in the midst of our people, we had to galvanize and create situations where we could take care of ourselves. I just want you to imagine that there's a people who actually did this, went through this, survived this, and it's culminated in this present situation that we're in right now. And Brother Rabbi and Pastor had gone to Israel. And one of the things for this meeting is that we wanted to hear, we were looking forward to hearing from them what their perspective of their trip was. Because it's all important, because everything that Brother Ariel said and everybody that has said before this, we're all actually on the same page. Now, I want to end with this because I wanted to set up for the song that I'm going to sing. So what was it that made us want to go to Israel and to be in Israel? Because once we got there, we were in love. You know, you imagine we coming and we had our own racist tendencies. You know, because we come from America and then we come to Israel and there's white people in Israel. And so we just assumed it was going to be more the same at some point, except for we changed locations. But after we began to evolve, we found out that it wasn't that way at all. Because the people that we lived among, a lot of them said they were expecting us to come to Israel because you're the biblical base too. So I just want you to imagine this situation over a 60-year period where now we're in what we call the evolution of the idea. Because the evolution of the idea is based upon inclusion. The inclusion of everybody who wants the same thing that we want. Peace, truth, justice, mercy, love, understanding, and the ability for us, as the Council General said, to create, I ain't gonna say leave a world, leave a world to our children. Say we building a world for our children. We ain't leaving. We building a world for our children. And here we are today, Sister Christina, whose passion it has been to bring us all together, because we got to give. It's that energy. It's that energy that she has continually pushed these relationships. Like Prince Asiel, who had been my partner for 50 years. We were on the Foreign Affairs mission, so we did everything through financing, moving people, taking care of people. I just want you to feel the crucible from which all this is culminated into where we are today. People from different walks of life, people from different cultures, and different realities are sitting in this room based upon a sentiment. When George Floyd, the world watched a policeman kill him in real time, the world was changed forever because it sent out a message of no more will people tolerate. And even white people began to question themselves. And in the ensuing months, there was so much information, television, videos, radios, YouTubes, all kinds of stuff coming out about black people, and the young white people began to question their parents. Did we really do this? Are we existing on slavery? Do we have privilege relative to denigrating and killing another people? And it has created a sentiment on the planet. The people might not know, they know they don't know. They might not know what they want, but it's coming in this synergy that we exist today. So the place that we went to, that we wound up settling in was called Dimona, right? Now, a lot of people don't know, from a metaphysical perspective, Dimona means a place where one goes to cast off errant beliefs. So we went to the right place. We didn't know it first, but when we found out, we'd gone to the right place. So Israel is so beautiful. And you go from the Negev, going down the Red Sea, all the way up the coast, the Mediterranean, all the way to where the cedars, Lebanon. I mean, we were in love. And when Dr. King passed, he didn't say we would get to Israel. He said we would get to the promised land. And we were in the promised land and had made the best of it as much as we could, with all of the security services on the ground trying to prevent us from doing that. Can you imagine? We were going into Israel when you couldn't even get into Israel if you didn't go with a church group. And then if you went with a church group, they put security services on the bus to make sure whoever got off got back on. So I just wanted to preface that because it's been a wonderful trip, and we have worked so hard with so many people. And that's why we celebrate this relationship with the councils, because through Prince Asriel, I think I know the last 5 council generals. And each one of them comes with a special spirit and has been so open that, I mean, at one point, well, 2 council generals told us, why don't y'all come up and set your offices up here? We never got around to that, but it was offered to us. There's a warm wind blowing in Dimona tonight. The stars are shining bright, says everything's alright. The world is ours, Yahweh's placed at our feet. I'm enjoying your beauty and your spirit so sweet. And if there's perfection, this must be it. Heaven in your eyes, walking under Israel's skies, under Israel's skies, under Israel's skies, under Israel's skies. Your beauty surpasses any I know. There's a peace in your smile, love in your glow. Queen of my life, woman of my soul. If there's anything you want tonight, the world is yours. And if there's perfection, this must be. Heaven in your eyes, walking with you. Under Israel's sky, under Israel's skies, under Israel's skies, under Israel's skies. Toda Rabbi, Shalom, Shalom.
Thank you, Prince Admiral. So beautiful. Thank you so much. So I'd like to ask one of our community leaders, Danny Hodges, to play right here in Chicago. He's going to be introducing Rabbi Fuday, who will be coming right back while he gives these sentiments. Very good. I should say, Danny is from an incredible family here. One of the sons of Rabbi Hodges, Rabbi James Hodges, and just an incredible family in this community. Have been a staple in this community and celebrated all over the world. And I was so privileged. She was the first person when I met Princess Yell. His father was the first person that he made sure that he introduced me to him and to his family. And just recently died that was 100 years old. And just all over the world, all over in the Jewish community, in the diaspora community, in the African Jewish community, in the Hebrew community. Everyone knows and speaks of the integrity of this amazing family, the Hodges family.
Everyone, can we give Christine a round of applause, please? It's not easy to put together, these events, Council General. As she said, my family, we've known Rabbi Benay for nearly over 40 years. And my dad passed, Rabbi James Hodges. He was considered the senior rabbi amongst the African American Hebrew community. And he passed at 5 a.m. in the morning on January the 1st, 2021. That means he made it through that horrific year of 2020. And at 5 a.m. in the morning, he passed away. And I tell this story all the time. My sister's in the back. It's 6 of us, 8 altogether with the entire family. I tell this all the time. Had he lived that year, 2021, they would have celebrated 70 years of marriage. 70 years of marriage. That means we experienced a man who was 95, 94 years old. And I happen to know as a fact, he considered Rabbi Capers Benet a spiritual son, and he loved him. He would look at him as a proud father whenever he saw the rabbi, you know, at the White House or in Africa ministering. He just had such high regards for the rabbi. So when Christina asked me to introduce the rabbi, I moved my schedule around because our next production, I produce theater around the world and in America. And our next production is called King Solomon Lives, a Nubian love story. And it's about the love story between the Queen of Sheba and King Solomon. And it goes up at the Wortham Center in Houston. So if you get a chance, it's going to be in August. They tell us that it has the potential to go to Broadway. We've had people like Jordan Sparks, American Idol winner, part of the production, Brandy. So it's a very powerful production, and hopefully everybody get a chance to see it. But let me introduce this phenomenal brother. I can see. We'll try. Rabbi Capers Benet is a spiritual leader of Beth Shalom, an Adaki Ethiopian congressional leader, and it's located at 6601 South Kedzie. Rabbi Benet also serves as the Senior Research Associate for the Institute of Jewish and Community Research located in San Francisco. Rabbi Benet earned his bachelor's degree in Hebrew literature and was ordained as a rabbi from the International Board of Rabbis in Queens, New York. Rabbi also serves as a consultant for several institutions, including the South Museum of African American, the Chicago. Can you all hear me okay? Okay. The Chicago Historical Society, all located in Chicago. The Black Holocaust Museum located in Milwaukee. The Institute of Jewish and Community Research located in San Francisco. And the African American Museum located in Los Angeles. Rabbi Benet has lectured at numerous universities, synagogues, and churches in various community organizations throughout the United States. Rabbi Benet is involved in a number of boards in Jewish communities. The Chicago Board of Jewish Councils of Urban Affairs. He is on the Board of Rabbis. Rabbi Benet is married to his beautiful wife, Mary, and he has 4 children, and how many grandchildren? 12 grandchildren. I am so pleased to be able to introduce someone I call my friend, my teacher, and my leader, the Honorable Capers Benet, Rabbi.
Good evening. I am so delighted to be here at this particular event. DuSable has a special meaning for my family and I. We celebrated our 100th anniversary as a congregation here at the DuSable Museum some years ago. And it was just a powerful, powerful event, a very powerful experience. So I want to thank Danny for the introduction, and truly just to reciprocate, your father was a father to me. He was a father to all of us. And he always found a way to try to be a peacemaker in the community. And that was one of the most important lessons I learned from Rabbi Hodges. Today, I'm here to just talk about my experience in Israel. And I almost asked which experience, because I've been to Israel several times over the course of several years. I believe when you were with APAC, we went to Israel, but I don't think you were on that trip. Israel is a special place. It is a special place to me as a Jew. It is a special place to me as a human being. It stands for something special. It stands for something special. And I so deeply appreciate the last time I went to Israel at the invitation of Consul General Cohen. Deeply appreciated that. And what we experienced there, it was in December, early in December. The elections were over, but the Knesset had not returned to work, and there were still some appointments to be had. But I did get an opportunity to visit several locations in the state of Israel. And I had an opportunity to meet the former Consul General to the Midwest, Avi Ezra, in Israel. And I did not get an opportunity to see my very dear friend who served as the ambassador to the United States for the state of Israel, Michael Oren. And he was a very good and dear and precious friend to myself and our entire community. One of the things that I like to say about Israel, it's a country with maybe about 7.5 million people. But whenever there's a crisis in the world, the state of Israel responds to that crisis. And I will never forget the field hospital that the Israelis set up in Haiti before the United States got there. Before any other country got there, the state of Israel was there. So my love for the state of Israel is far and wide. But I do have questions. I have questions. We question, yes, Israel is an open society. Yes, it is welcoming. But for some of the people from Africa, they have some issues with being accepted. After being converted through the conservative movement. I'm talking about the community in Uganda, the Abu Yudaya community. I traveled to Uganda several times, where the rabbi was educated here in the United States, Gershom Suzuma. But their community still has not been totally accepted. That hurts. It hurts as a person who loves and has a passion for the state of Israel. That love needs to be reciprocated. It needs to go forward and out to all of the brothers and sisters, not only from Uganda, but from all over the world as they seek to come to Israel to live amongst the Jewish people. That's an important piece. It's an important piece for me. One time in Israel, I had the opportunity to stay with an Ethiopian family, an Ethiopian Israeli family. Beautiful city, beautiful time with them. And it was so exciting because it was a Shabbat, and the tradition is they eat like 5 meals a day, particularly on Shabbat. And I said, I can't eat anymore. I was already big enough that you were making me bigger. This beautiful time, I had the opportunity to work with our community in the moment and help to whatever I could do to carry it forward and hope that the situation works out well for the group that is facing deportation. So I'm hoping that that can get worked out, where they will be allowed to stay, those born in Israel, those reared in Israel. And Israel is all that they know. It is all that they know. So I'm not trying to be negative, but I do want to be honest. And I do want us to envision an Israel where it is totally, absolutely welcoming to people from Asia, from all over South America, Guatemala, and Central America, and our community particularly in Africa, particularly the Ugandan community. And there are other communities that I have been working with. From South Africa, the Limba community, Zimbabwe, in the Limba community, Nigeria, the Igbo community. I serve as the spiritual leader of several communities in Nigeria, and now Ghana as well, because there are Jews, black Jews, in Ghana that are working and that are doing their utmost to live their lives Jewishly. So I'm not going to talk long. I enjoyed the song of Prince, absolutely beautiful, and your words about struggle. We all have to struggle with something. And if you're not willing to struggle with it, what is it for? And so when Martin Luther King reached out to help you up, that shows you the character and the personality of a Martin Luther King. No one was too small. Everyone was important. And that's what we all have to strive for and to live for. The importance of every soul, of every individual. Because we are all created in the image of God. Everybody is created in the image of God. Thank you very much.
I understand you guys need to leave, so we thank you for your time. And before I bring up someone to understand with them, that you need to. Okay, we'll be happy to do that. Perry, would that be okay with you? So we'll let you be a part of the question and answer right now, and then we'll let Perry close us out. So if that order is good with everyone. Doug Barrington, the Executive Director of the Shiloh Institute, I'm proud to introduce, will help us moderate the question and answer. And we'll start off first with if there's questions in the audience. Okay? Thank you.
What a beginning. Greetings to everybody. I come to you under this great cloud of witness, a son of Trinidad and Tobago, a country that has seen our own people manage the independence of a sovereign republic. And now I stand here under the auspices of a season where the Afro-Semitic and the Afro-Hamitic has gotten together and as the Council General said, a descendant of Arabs and Yemenites sits here before us representing Israel. And we here in North America, the sons and daughters of kings who have gone through a Middle Passage Holocaust ourselves, stand all here together to say, when will it end? And how can we sit here and build something tomorrow that is strong, that is united, and that belongs to all of us? So without any further ado, do we have any audience questions? I see a good-looking fellow there, sitting there with his hand raised. Reverend Sampson, the illustrious Reverend Sampson, please go first.
Thank you. We just finished celebrating the homegoing of Brother Harry Belafonte. And he came out of the civil rights movement of Martin Luther King. If you go on my site, RevAlSampson.com, and myself, because I'm the only man that he ordained that was a member of SCLC, and Stan Levinson and Harry Wartell were the two Jewish brothers that was a part of Harry Belafonte's family of working with Dr. King. And his wife gave me a Martin Luther King watch that they created. And I'm the only one. So what I'd like to ask is, in Demona, we would like to do something to institutionalize Harry Belafonte, Martin Luther King, because Prince Asiel and Minister Louis Farrakhan and I are the three preachers that he allowed us to turn the crescent on of Mosque Mariam, as you know, brother. And they call us the three wise men. And I would like that institutionalized in the home of the moment. As you know, I'm one of the biblical scholars for the original African Heritage Bible, where we look at the Bible from African eyes. We got enough information now that Moses was not child from history. Little tale what the queen of Sheba. Jesus wasn't born in Europe, blonde hair and blue eyes, but in a little town of Bethlehem, up the street from Ethiopia, around the corner from Egypt. And with King Hope Belton, we met because of Prince Asiel, the Della Rosa, which was the 12 steps that Jesus took when they hung him on the cross. So I say this with pain and with tears. We have to institutionalize the life of Harry Belafonte, Stan Levinson, Harry Wartell, Prince Asiel, Martin was an alpha. Prince Asiel was an alpha. And it was in Memphis, Tennessee, brother, that Martin Luther King said, after he got a telephone call that the United States government was going to assassinate him. And he went to that church and he said, it don't matter to me now. I've been to the mountaintop. I might not get there, but we as a people will get there. It was at that moment that Prince Hasegawa moved around Black America and started the movement to go home to the family of our ancestors out of the Holy Scriptures. And so that's my question. Can you all make arrangements for us to institutionalize something? Because now we're confronted with the critical race theory, where they're trying to knock us out and say we have no Alice Davis blues.
If I can reposition the question and point it at, because I know Council General's time, with the new, and is this new Israel? And if this is a new Israel, in respect to what is taking place with leadership, what do you see as the relationship that Israel will have with and I'll position it like this: the African American Hebrew, the African American Jew, and then of course the African Jew. But I think the conversation, just from what Rabbi Fume was saying, and I'm going to bridge her, was, do you see the new Israel as being inclusive to Aliyah for those who decide to come back and exercise the law of return? Do you see new Israel as being open and welcome to firming up those individuals that represent what Israel says they represent?
Thank you for the question. Regarding the new Israel, Israel is an ever-changing country because we're so young, and growth is, in terms of population, is quite dramatic. By the way, I don't know if you know that, but it's the highest in the Western world. So, let me refer to some issues. First, the Hebrew community has been in Israel for some decades now, and while there's a specific issue with a very specific group that everybody is trying to solve in good faith, in Supreme Court, and politicians are involved in really trying to solve in good faith, the Hebrew community as such has played such an important role in the life, in Israeli life, from civil society, celebrities, artists that are super famous in Israel. They, unfortunately, we still have an obligatory military service in Israel because of the situation, taking part in that too. They're part of the fabric of the Israeli society. They have been so and will forever continue to be. And when there are specific issues, we will be able to solve them in good faith. Israel is the only country that voluntarily brought Jewish African community into Israel, the Jewish Ethiopian community. I don't know if any other Western country did that, and this is something we all have to remember. So, I won't say that Israel is a perfect country, it's not. We have many issues. Do we have racism in Israel? Unfortunately, yes. Do we have problems in Israel? Unfortunately, yes, we do. But our role as leaders is to make sure that we generate genuine change in the country. So I'm very optimistic about this future because I know that where there's good faith, there's good solutions.
I think that deserves a hand with its good faith. I'll ask you one more question, just in the interest of time. One more question. In respect to legal precedent, and we know right now there's two arms operating in Israel in respect to the Dimona community and in respect to other communities like the Ugandan community and even some of the same community you mentioned, the Ethiopian community. Precedent in law, we see that there's kind of a duality where we are asking Israeli courts to make precedents in law to establish people who I think the court would acknowledge deserve their citizenship. And then you have the Ministry of the Interior that has been tasked also to do the same thing. do you see a future where the courts themselves will just say these people should be citizens of Israel?
You know, I cannot refer to this question without referring to the general situation in Israel right now. As you know, there has been a very strong debate in the country about the relations between the executive and the judiciary. It goes way beyond the issues that at stake here. It has, as you all know, I don't want to go into Israel politics right now, but it's been a very strong debate. So yes, the Supreme Court has always been a very strong defender of civil rights, human rights. It's not that the government hasn't been. I'm part of the government, of course. It has been, but there's always some kind of tension between these two branches. But again, it's not just about the Supreme Court of the government. It's about generating a discourse, in Israeli society with members of communities outside Israel to see how we can shape a common future together. It's not just about ruling of a court or a decision of a government. It should be much deeper, much more genuine and much more thorough. Because it's not a legal issue. It's not a matter of a government decision. It's about our future, a common future, relations between the country and the diaspora, all kinds of diaspora around the world. So I think that the most important thing is, as I said, create good faith, generate a discussion, to think together about a common future. And about the relations between the Supreme Court and the executive, it is right now a much deeper issue in Israel, so we have to see where that's going.
Please put your hands together for Council General. Thank you for coming here. Thank you for extending your arm to us. We look forward to your continued partnership with Shiloh. Very pleased to meet you. Very pleased to meet you. You guys are not done yet. We're not done with you guys. We're just, okay. Please give them a hand of applause to the jury. Thank you, everybody. Thank you for coming. We just have more questions. I'll open it up to the audience. Anybody in the audience as Reverend Al is always going to be Reverend Al. Reverend Sam is always Reverend Sam. Okay. I'm going to ask her a question. I have questions for this girl. And this is the same question for you, Rabbi Fume, but what advice would you give to the African American community now as you made your first welcome, saying that we cannot continue this continuation of ignorance? What would you give the African American community now if you had an encapsulated word to say, how do we change this entire construct that leaves us in a place of ignorance in respect to our ethnicity, our identity, our history? You standing here under the auspices of a museum of our legacy, what would you say to them, to us, in respect to changing that future?
I would say stay the course. Right? It's not just a saying, it's the struggle continues. Let's hope it doesn't continue forever, but there will always be dark forces that want to keep us from the truth, that want to hijack our narrative and our stories. And I think that, you look around and you see beautiful museums and beautiful art and literature, and all of that is called the humanities, right? It's called humanities because it's what makes us human, right? It's what separates us from the beasts. And there are beasts among us, and I don't mean to preach. That's your job, but there are. And I truly believe that good shall triumph over evil, because what we see going on in Florida and Texas and other places is nothing but evil. You can't call it anything but evil, right? And so, you know, I think that the truth, which is what we have in here, is the historical truth, facts. You know, some people might try to live in a fact-free zone, but there are still facts and there is still truth. And you have to, you know, simply continue to say, this is the truth. And continue to fight. You know, we have a book fair every October over across on the plaza, and you know, this year it may even be the band book fair, right? And the irony of that is that when the book is banned, what happens? Sales go through the roof, right? And when you really look behind what these people are trying to do, it's not only legislating continued ignorance, but it is a deep-seated fear of the truth. Because heaven forbid their children actually learn the truth, because if their children learn the truth, they're going to behave in a different manner, right? And so I think what we're really seeing, I hope, are the death throes of that evil spirit, right? And it takes me back, you know, Dr. Hamilton, Charles Hamilton, I know some of you know him, political scientist, author, lawyer, who wrote Black Power with Stokely Carmichael, with Rami Turner. And he told me a story about going to South Africa. He traveled to South Africa over 105 times. He stopped traveling past couple of years because I think he's going to be 93. But he told me he was there and was, you know, helping with building the Constitution. This was just around the time that Mandela had been released, and he was sitting with somebody who worked for de Klerk, and he was asking this Afrikaans, why are you so afraid? What are you afraid of to let black people run their own nation? And he said, if this goes through, it would be the death of me and my children and my grandchildren. And Dr. Hamilton, Charles says, well, why do you believe that? And this man answered, because that's what we would do. You get chills? That's what we would do. And our people are not like that. We are just not. If we were, this country would have gone up in flames a long time ago. Not just a neighborhood here and a neighborhood there. The whole kit and caboodle, right? So I think it is that realization that we are different. We have to adhere to our spirit, right? And yet find that happy medium between Martin and Malcolm. Okay? Because the evil we're dealing with right now is in many ways worse than that dealt with by Dr. King back in his day. In many ways, because the power, the resurgence of Nazism, because that's what it is, right? Everything, every tenet that these people speak about is from Mein Kampf. It's verbatim. When I was in Israel, this is going to be my recollection of talking more at this, but at Yad Vashem, you read the words of the Nazis, the words of Hitler, and they are verbatim Donald Trump. And Trump doesn't even know it. He doesn't have the good sense to know it, but someone has written that down for him in crayon in big letters, all capitals, right? And he is pushed this, it's like the rock rolled away from the pit in hell, and all these demons came out. Everything came out. And so now we're in a renewed struggle to push it back in, because it's going to take more than evolution. We don't have that long, right, to wait for evolution, right? We have to kind of help it along. And fighting book bans and fighting the restrictions on the teaching of African American history, and you know, it is unconstitutional, un-American, inhuman to deprive any child of an education. So we're not just fighting for our children to know. We can teach our children Black history. It's their children that need it more. And it's their children that have the right to learn. Okay? And so I think, you know, we have to find ways to meet kids where they are. We have to find ways to fight the politics, to make policy decisions and arguments, and come together. When I talk about museums being an education center, yes, we are, right? This museum in particular, from the community, for the community, we contribute more to public safety and public health in this community, right, than anybody else, right? So don't tell me that I have to have museum funding. No, I want education funding, I want public safety funding, I want public health funding, right? I want USDA funding, I want Department of Defense funding, I want every pocket of the blue jeans we can speak to, because we are America, right? And if you look at the African way of life, that spiritual way of life, everything is connected, right? You can't pull out one thing or another thing. Every aspect of community and humanity is rolled into one, right? And over the centuries, that's been plucked apart, right? So what do we have to do? What we're doing here, bring everything together.
One of the key points on this my understanding is that Gene Page, with African ancestry, is coming to Lusala. Am I speaking out of turn?
No, I think that is our education department.
That's right. For those of you who do not know, there's a brother named Dr. Rick Kittles.
Yes.
And Rick Kittles on this lawn at an African festival, and we swore up our mouths, and I found out that my mama, on my mama's side, we had to do what they call the matriarch, mitochondrial, yeah, mitochondrial, on the mitochondrial side, and I was an adopted child. Then I'm from Sierra Leone. And they gave me the name, I saw it now. They snatched you from us, now we snatching you back on that. Daddy's side, I'm from Nigeria, and I'm Igbo. And then the third, I didn't have any white blood in me. Because I didn't know who my daddy was. Now, my always was saying all that, is that they're coming back again. Because people from all over Winfrey and in the border of Atlanta, everybody went and did their African ancestry. And I'm only saying in the next month or two, they're coming back again. And I would like the Israeli community, where you all put that in as a part of the agenda, and let's get up on the airwaves and let people know. I don't know what the date is, sister, but I'll give you Gina's number, because she called me, because I had 3 kiddos out to my church, and there was a sister out of Trinidad that took his information, and he's now a professor at Morehouse College in Atlanta, where they've institutionalized him, because there's a medical school down there, right? They've institutionalized him at at Morehouse College, Dr. Rick Kills. And the only thing I'm saying is, you all are not alone when you, and thank you for playing the guitar and giving the testimony. And the only thing I'm saying is, we have to do what I did. My word is called moral authority. I'm the author of my eye. And I just walked into that man's office and said, Dr. King, I got license, but I ain't never been ordained and I need you to be ordained. That's how I got it. Found out I was the only one. And they taped it. So when you do RebelSamson.com, you're going to see the words that Martin King spoke over me. And the only thing I'm trying to say is, we have to take that moral authority. And that's why this building, Margaret Burroughs, is not, when should I tell my children to go black? I read it out of my church once, twice a month. She was a prophetess. She was letting us know what she going to tell your children. They're down there twerking. They're shooting up. The white folks ain't afraid to go to get out of the house downtown because the children are going crazy. Because why? We haven't locked in to everything that's here at New Solomon.
Can I bring just to Rabbi Fume? Rabbi Fume, are they afraid? You are the most decorated Hebrew rabbi, maybe in the world, black African American rabbi. You have the capacity to draw anybody into a meeting. You sat down with the Anti-Defamation League. In piggybacking off what Perry has said and anything that you wish to say too, do you deem the thems to be afraid?
Well, they're very afraid. They're very afraid. When I met with the CEO of the ADL, Anti-Defamation League, I told him I had to meet with him face to face because we had a Zoom and Zoom didn't satisfy me. I like to see people and experience people and feel people. And I felt insincerity because they had some information that was disparaging against all people that are black Jews, Hebrew Israelites, African Hebrew Israelites, and it was purely racist. And I had a friend of mine write an article when I was personally attacked. And they put pictures, not of anybody in our community, but of the brothers that wear the pepper and they marched around the center and things of that nature.
Israel United in Christ.
Yes. So we have to correct things. That's why I just simply said, but I love Israel. But there's an issue with it's governmental, but there's also an issue with the acceptance of people that look like most of the people in here. And that's what's got to change. One of the things that you may want to is look at during the Thompson era, over 1,300 mental institutions were closed. All of the big ones. And they built prisons instead. We protested some everywhere for the mental health. And that's some of why the kids be talking and shooting and having no self-respect for themselves. And so how can they respect anyone else? We need to prayerfully get more into the community. But I think I need a different language to talk to some of these young people. I'm quite serious. You got to give me a language to speak to them because I don't think that they hear anything or see anything. And so we need a different language to reach out to these kids.
Thank you. Yes. See a question at the back.
I just wanted to ask a question in response to a comment that the gentleman representing Israel made. He made a difference between, and I think he was trying to make this difference. Sorry, I think he was trying to be nice when he said that the Israeli people invited and welcomed after several years the Jewish Ethiopian community, and I think that he expected to get some accolades for that. And really what it did was uncover the bias that he has, because they don't make any difference between the many European Jews who come to Israel to live. But for some reason, he felt that making this proclamation about what they did as if it was some kind of a favor to these Jews who are Ethiopian Jews who have been following, from what I've learned and read, all of the different, sacred rites and stuff of the Jewish community for many years, maybe even longer than some of their European brothers and sisters who were welcomed with open arms and without any of the pushback. And so it laid bare the obvious issues around race that happened for him to say that openly and think that he was actually showing how welcoming he is. What he really did was just show the issues that are clearly there. And if those kinds of issues are happening and he was unaware to say them openly, I can only imagine privately the kinds of conversations that I had. And so I'm just wondering, because I know, sir, that you have that you're very esteemed in your role, what kinds of conversations and what kinds of legislation do you think might be able to come from someone like you who would speak on behalf of the Black Jewish community, of which I am not. But as a Black person, it just feels like we're fighting the same battles all the time, and I feel sorry for my Black Jewish brothers and sisters who are having to take up this mantle on another continent while also dealing with the realities of being Black here in the United States. It feels like a lot.
Thank you, my sister. First of all, you raised the question about the age of the Ethiopian community. There have been Jews in Ethiopia for over 2,000 years. 2,000 years. There is no Jewish community that has been together longer. So from a social perspective, I saw it from a different perspective. The Ethiopians, they had Kissim, priests. And it was like, in some instances, they are really just now beginning to recognize the authority of the Kissim, of the Kes, the Ethiopian priests. They bring a long, long tradition, hundreds and hundreds and thousands of years of tradition. To your other point, yes, he was saying that we brought them in, and they did. And that was a wonderful thing, but you have to remember they had been suffering through drought, through civil war in Ethiopia. And so it was about time. And then there were other issues that I really won't get into.
Weren't they walking for 3 years before?
Pardon?
Weren't they walking towards Israel for 3 years?
They walked from the Gondar region into Sudan. I went to the mountains in Ethiopia, one of the trails that they used. And all I could do when I got there was sing Stony the Road. I tried a bit of the chastening rod. Felt in the days when hope was unborn. Yet with the steady beat, have not our weary feet come to the place from which our fathers died. We have come. It was just, it's powerful. The history, the rich history of African American people throughout this country is. Who knew about the women that worked for NASA before the film Hidden Colors came out? Did you know that the power of the mind, and they didn't have no computers. These girls got up on blackboards. But see, they don't know that black women gave us mathematics in Africa. They don't know that. They're not dealing with those types of issues. They're not teaching that in our schools. They're not teaching that algebra is not it's a name after a guy.
So Rabbi Emanuel shuts down 100 schools. Rabbi Emanuel shut down 100 schools in this time and drove out the teachers. And if you listen yesterday and the day before, Brother Muhammad at Lindblom High School got run out of the school by the Jewish apparatus. And don't nobody, please let me say this now, I'm going to be quiet, I'm going to walk it. Here's the deep part. There's a woman named, listen to this, son. You want him to finish it? Yeah.
So, what do? We have to address the issues of the lack of education. We have to address the issues of the lack of mental health. We have to address the social issues that Mayor Brandon Johnson said that he wants to address. And so many are saying that they don't want them to raise taxes. We bail out more companies in this country than we've spent on people. We've given $1 billion or more to banks and $1 billion or more to car manufacturers. So that's what it's all about.
I'm just going to take a few more questions from the audience real quick. This is the back, and then Doc, I got you. Go ahead. Right there.
Just a quick question. This may be on the fringe of our discussion, but from the rabbi, I'd love to get your perspective on if the Ark of the Covenant was found in Ethiopia. Is there any truth to that, or is that just an urban legend, or what is that?
That's Dr. Brian Isaac, an Ethiopian Yemeni Jew, says that the Ark of the Covenant is in Ethiopia. He's written about it, that it was brought back during the time of the Solomonic rule. And I've not been to the church. I've been to Ethiopia, but I've not been to the church in Aksum where it's allegedly held. But I would love to see it.
I'll give you the book.
There's so many.
The Africans who wrote the Bible. I'm going to take your number, son, and I'm going to give you the book so you'll understand that they've been hustling us. When you put King James Version, he gets autographed.
We're gonna close really quickly, but just in closing, we have so much bloody feet. Harriet Tubman had bloody feet. Rabbi spoke about the bloody feet, and in 2019, Ghana declared the year of the return, allowing many of us, myself included, to be repatriated to Ghana to get my actual passport and to walk into the places of bloody feet, these caves and these castles.
Now, we know castle.
And we saw and sat amongst the echoing spirits of ancestors sitting there. We could hear, it was palpable. And I'd like Senna to come. And just to segue us, because the conversation of Africa, and the African American, and the diaspora African, and the Afro-Hebrew, and the Afro-Hamitic, all these stories tie together in respect to what we are trying to do. Can the last slave colony, the United States of America, can the last slave colony gain independence? There is no other slave colony in the world other than the United States of America that the slaves have not taken their independence. The greatest, the most educated, the most accomplished, the most brilliant of us all in this nation. Is there a segue to that nationhood? And please, Senator, come forward as we try to tie in and close. Please your hands together, everyone.
Thank you for giving me the opportunity. But before I say anything, I want to really acknowledge Christina King, who has put this together. If you see the work, the passion, and the sacrifice that has gone into her work, I really want us to appreciate Christina King for the Charlotte Institute. It's a privilege to speak before you all. I was supposed to introduce Dr. Perry Emmer, but due to the flow of the conversation, we couldn't get a chance to do so. So Christina, I just want you to talk about Africa and how the conversation ties into it. But I can't do that without giving a little background about this great woman. So let me just read a paragraph. Allow me to read a paragraph. Dr. Perry Emmer is the president, of course, and CEO of the DuSable Black History Museum and Education Center, the iconic institution founded in 1961 by Dr. Margaret Barros, whom you spoke about. It is one of the oldest institutions of its kind in the United States. She has also held this position since September 2015. One of her plans for the DuSable include advancing for Barros' vision of the museum as a center of the African American arts and culture, as well as Center for Research, Thought Leadership, and Community Advancement. Ms. Emmer was born and raised in Hyde Park, holds a professional bachelor's of architecture from the Illinois Institute of Technology in 1981, and in 1991 she gained her JD from the University of Chicago in law. She has so many accolades, but because I've been given specific instructions, I'll leave the other accolades after this show. After all of this, you can ask her about the other accolades. So, ladies and gentlemen, please let's appreciate this wonderful lady here.
Thank you so much, everybody. Christina, you're a doll. Thank you so much. I'm not going to talk anymore. I think I've said, I think we were actually in Israel at the same time. I was there this past December, first or second week. Yeah, with the,
Like the
8th or 9th, yes, I was there also. And it was my first trip, won't be my last, God willing. Beautiful country, beautiful landscape, beautiful weather, beautiful food. You can tell I'm a foodie. But I agree, there are issues just like there are in this nation, almost exactly like in this nation, right? And so I think the right-minded people of Israel and the right-minded people of the United States have so much in common and a very similar struggle. And I think what is important to both populations is just what I said before: seek the truth, speak the truth, and keep fighting evil influence. And I just don't know what else to call it but that. So we have to keep fighting. We have to educate our children to be critical thinkers, right? Critical race theory is critical thinking. And this is how we overcome. So education is the most important. And that's what we're fighting for, and I know that's what all of you here are interested in helping us with this universal mission of truth. Right? So thank you everyone for being here tonight. It's our honor to have you here at the DuSable, and I hope to see you here again and often. And be members. Are any of you members of DuSable? Thank you. Wonderful. Thank you. Y'all are still members. Thanks so much.
Thank you. Welcome to Africa. I tell friends, and I tell Christina and other people that I speak to regularly that Africa is a sleeping giant that is gradually waking up. And if it does, Africa will be free. Africa will realize its full potential to the benefit of Africans and to the world. Before I got here, I was reading an article before I say a little bit about what I do. It's an article, Ghana actually owes China some debt. And one of the conditions is that when we default on 4 of the loans that we owe China, Ghana is going to relinquish a chunk of its gold reserve in the Ashanti region, the northern part of Ghana, to China. They're going to owe that reserve. 2, our electricity bill, the energy company, the country institution that runs the energy of the country, would be paying its electricity bill to China. Among other conditions, that is detriment to Ghana. And this is just a tip of the iceberg. Have you heard of the story of China in Zimbabwe? Yeah. They literally are running the country. They set police stations in these African countries. The reason why I'm saying this is that countries can decide to do what they want to do and go to Africa and take advantage. My desire is, if Asians, Lebanese, Indians are in Africa in droves, being part of the natural resources, taking advantage of the natural resources, being part of the economic development to their advantage first. Why not our own people here in the United States? Why not people that look like you and I? And so it is my desire, and it has been my desire after coming to this country for so many years, I decided to leave the corporate world and to build a bridge where the people that look like me, my brothers and sisters that journey here literally to go back home and be part of the abundant wealth of Africa. Because if you don't, there are other people who would gladly love to be there. Every device that we're using now, including the TVs and all the electrical gadgets that the world uses, gets their resources from Africa. Congo, the kobolds, the coltans, talk about all the natural resources. And so we have created a platform called the Exchange Ceremony, which we first conceived in 2019, in the year of return, when Ghana had declared it. It also happened to be 400 years of slavery in this country. That's where it dawned on me that something had to be done for our race. And so we are proud, and I must say that I'm probably the only African in this room that honored President Perry Amar during that event. Actually, it was held here, and we recognize Africans, Caribbeans, African Americans to come together to share our common culture. We have grown from just sharing our culture and coming together and doing that every year to foster our relationship culturally. But we also, what we have realized is that doing commerce is the most important thing for Black people. And so, how do we create that commercial community, or how do we enhance our relationship commercially? Seeing other people doing so in Africa. And so this year, during the exchange ceremony, which was started in 2019, we missed 2 years due to COVID. We came back last year. And last year we decided to add what we call restoring the royalty. I was speaking to my brother who was talking about how his father came up with the idea of kingship and passed the mantle on to him. And I speak to African Americans who freely and who always declare to me or speak to me about their royalty, their kingship in them. And it hits me, I'm like, these are African Americans and they're talking about royalty and kingship. This is conversations that, as an African, it's a daily conversation for me. It's a thing for me. I mean, it's natural for me. And as an African, I'm not thinking that the African Americans see themselves as royals too. It does not occur to us as Africans, because in our minds, the image that has been painted to Africans about African Americans in America is not positive. All we know of African Americans are dancers, basketball players. So in the mind of the African, we don't see the greatness of America. We don't see African Americans being parts of the greatness of America. It's oblivious to us because of how we were indoctrinated about your history and our history. So in this day and age, the most important conversation is to sit down about how connected we are and what binds us together. And so we decided that we would bring kings from Africa to restore the royalty that was stripped from our brothers and sisters in the African American community. So we started with Reverend Jesse Jackson last year, crowning us king. This year, we're going to be crowning Congressman Danny Davis and 2 other women, queens, and we'll be restoring the royalty of other honorees that we have decided, that we have elected. And so I want to invite the community to come to June 24th at the Karen Center. In addition to the June 24th event, there'll be 2 small events preceding that. There'll be a business meeting right here. We're bringing business folks from Ghana who will be meeting business folks from the American community here, black business folks, to see how we can begin to invest in each other's communities. So African businesses might do some things here, but more importantly, African Americans can put their dollars and turn it around in Africa. And then on Friday at Rainbow Push, we'll have a historic panel discussion such as this to learn more about who we are, where we're from, and what we share as a people. And then Saturday, we'll crown it at the Karen Center for Arts and Culture right there at on the west side of Chicago. That said, I'd like to thank you all for giving me the opportunity to speak. And please remember that this is the time for African Americans to put their money in Africa. It's very, very important. And we are providing the pathway in doing that. We are going to plan a trip to go to Ghana in November. And that trip is not just to go and tour. Even though that is important, culturally, we want to integrate you all into the system as though you never left. For those who want, we'll give you African names. And you're going to see the land that the king had donated to African Americans to come and settle on. In addition to other perks that we want to bestow on the African American as part of us. Again, as though you never left. So we'll pass more information to the community as the days go along. And we're happy to work with Prince Amir and his beautiful wife. Thank you so much for being a blessing to me in 2019, for opening my eyes when it comes to Dr. Kwame Nkrumah's relationship with Martin Luther King. Thank you so much.
Can I say this to him, please? Please hear this. Fred Hampton went to Ghana. They gave him land from the Black Panthers. He's one of my sons because I moved his dad.
We're going to close. Go ahead, Ray. Go ahead.
Steve Coakley. Y'all remember Steve Coakley? Y'all remember Steve Coakley? Yeah.
We're going to close, Ray.
Right, but just listen.
No, go ahead.
Steve Coakley, his son, that is a lawyer, he was in the O.J. Simpson case with O.J. He got land and he's living there now, and he's got a think tank sitting there. My guy, Michael Thompson, February 28th, we took people from Black Wall Street, the older people, and they gave them land and citizenship. me that he don't ask before he does know.
Rev, we're going to talk after service too. You're not going anywhere. We're going to hang on to you. Listen, I just want to say one thing. Oh, he's going to sing right now. But before we go, it would be crazy for us not to make us understand that the ShilohInstitute.org, that website is changing. We are upgrading it. We would like every African American, every Afro-Hebrew, every Afro-Semitic to be a member. We're upgrading that website. And we are going to be doing all these initiatives. These things are going to be posted. Our board is going to be announced. We need you. We need you to be part of that movement because that movement is truly you. So, without any further ado, we got a little crooner here who's about to sing us home, and then you're going to hear the benediction from Rabbi Fumé introducing to you, and to some not new, our friend Jonathan Joseph. That boy can sing.
Thank you so much for having me.
Out from the
Peace and blessings to everyone. Beautiful rendition. Beautiful. Absolutely fantastic. We've heard a lot today. We've learned a lot today. And probably we've learned from each other and with each other. My dear sister Christina, wishing you all of the success. Shiloh, Dale, God bless, peace and blessings to you. Thanking the President of the DuSable Museum and also to Israeli Consul General of the Midwest, Consul General Cohen, all of you that made your way here to share in this evening. I'd like to pray short when we close. I'll say this. Yivorech Adonai v'yishmareka Ken yahi ratzon Ya'eh al panav alecha v'yechut einecha Ken yahi ratzon Yisar Adonai v'yisin lecha shalom Ken yahi ratzon The Lord bless you and keep you. So may be His will. The Lord lift up His countenance upon you and be gracious unto you. So may be His will. The Lord turn His countenance upon you and bless each of us with peace. So may be His will. Let the house of Israel say, Amen. God bless you and good evening.
That's sometimes when people get old and ain't nobody tell them to stop. That's why they keep going. No, not doing it. I don't have to do anything. What I have to do is call him out for his ignorant comments about my son's high school and about Jewish people while we're sitting in this room. You guys